This is Sybert signing into Tiberium Wars on the map Tournament Arena for a best of 13. Yes, you heard me right, a best of 13 between this cyan nod player in the top left-hand corner. This is PoKeMoM. And in the bottom right-hand corner as the red nod, fast expanding, this is bikeRUshownz. Now, this is a best of 13. Ooh, Shadow Team Rush coming out from PoKeMoM. This is a best of 13, $100 money match. This was set up by, I don't know, Onk and some other people on Game Replays, and I'm very excited to see this because this is a show match that I tried to set up, and PoKeMoM told me he would only play Shock Treatment, and then he told me nothing, and he just ghosted me. So I'm very glad that someone got him to play Bike Rush, and in a long-form format as well. Completely shuts down the fast expansion, so completely neutralized there. bikeRUshownz does have one vulnerable power plant in the north, although he may not be expecting the double Shadow Team Rush because, of course, PoKeMoM did go for not just the regular Shadow Teams that you call in, but he built 2 additional Shadow Teams. So bikeRUshownz moves his MCV. He's into low power mode. He's got his base, though. He's got his 2 refineries. He's got his war factory, and he's going to unpack his MCV to go ahead and get an additional power plant up and running. Now we do see Shadow Team hunting coming out from Bike Rush. He's doing a very good job of following and killing these Shadow Teams. Of course, jumps into the bunker there. Now both team members did survive, and no, that's a militant over there. So it looks like the other 2 Shadow Teams did get eliminated by Bike Rush, but 2 team members did survive, which means he can bomb another power plant. Bike Rush has to deal with this. He spots the Shadow Teams far enough out, and he may be able to draft a Shredder turret. Nope, no Shredder turret coming up. Instead, it is going to be... Okay, they turn around and they head back into the bunker. The buggy was going to turn around and try and deal with them that way. MCV on the move from PoKeMoM, going to be going here for the blue Tib and the green Tib split. Great MCV position. Double war factory for bikeRUshownz. bikeRUshownz is being put to the test here. This is an extremely long format series, and bikeRUshownz is the undisputed recent champion of Tib Wars. When he shows up playing something, he wins it. That may not have always been the case, but that has been the case recently, and PoKeMoM is the challenger for him. And already with a great start in game number 1, now going to be losing a blue Tib harvester. He doesn't pull it off the line, so he is going to be losing that little bit of actual income as well as the harvester. The rest of these bikes and buggies should be pushed away. As I say that, 4 more do show up. They may be suiciding themselves. 5 and 6 more actually show up. They may actually try and suicide onto this harvester, go for the kill no matter what. They get the kill. That's double income down the drain and 2 harvesters. Wasted time for PoKeMoM. bikeRUshownz, on the other hand, no aggression coming his way. Harvester is up and running at that blue Tib. He's got his natural expansion economy on the way. I guess it's not really natural expansion, but looks like he lost another power plant. Shadow Team running away, skating away on his blades of whatever that allows him to skate on a grass field. I guess like rollerblades, but for grass. Anyways, he's getting away, and he does get shut down there, so that is going to be it. Engineer pops on out, which is kind of curious that he's even going to be going for the Tib Spike capture. If Bike Rush lets that happen, that will be great for PoKeMoM. The extra 25 credits a second, plus denying it from Bike Rush for the remainder of this game, which if it goes on for a long time is a pretty significant amount of income. That'll be great for PoKeMoM. Once again, harvester hunting for Bike Rush. 5 bikes showing up into the unprotected main base of PoKeMoM. This is not necessarily the forefront of where PoKeMoM is going to be over the next couple of minutes, but this represents thousands of credits of lost income if these harvesters get shut down and PoKeMoM does nothing about it, which currently he is doing nothing about it. A little bit unfortunate here that it took him this long to respawn. 2 harvesters down, a 3rd and a 4th may go down. A 5th is here, harvesting away, so he does still have some income. May just go ahead and sell off one of those refineries considering the state that he's in. Bike Rush, after such a rough opening, has been non-stop, pretty much perfect plays, committing to this bottom expansion, shutting down that blue Tib income, and he has clawed his way back in a masterful display of Tib Wars here. All right, so we got 2 harvesters in the north. bikeRUsh is not letting up the aggression, and if he can kill them, that's just going to put him further and further ahead. Again, denying the income of PoKeMoM and not allowing him to safely harvest from his main field. A couple of rocket squads could help turn the tide, but this is so many Scorpion tanks from bikeRUshownz, and he's just going for the crushes one after the other after the other. The entire main base is shut down from PoKeMoM. He's being overwhelmed. He doesn't have the production. He doesn't have the units. bikeRUsh is just slamming him and just non-stop hammering. I think it's going to be the GG and the tap out from PoKeMoM. He could mount some kind of stellar defense, but he's going to be playing from behind for the rest of this game, which means he needs bikeRUsh to either make a mistake or he needs to pull some kind of like long game arbitrary or win of attrition and just slowly but surely whittle down bikeRUsh's forces. Once again, Harvester hunting, the name of the game for bikeRUsh, hunting 2 more Harvesters off of the front line, getting kills on Scorpion tanks, and this is what you can do when you have overwhelming numbers like bikeRUsh has. Check out these Harvesters and these refineries, getting his tech up, completely harvesting his main field, completely harvesting that blue field. PoKeMoM is just now getting there, and he still has all of this money unclaimed in his main field. Main base shut down, bikeRUsh in total domination mode. It is up to PoKeMoM to somehow, someway turn this around behind an army, behind an economy, behind in pretty much every way that you can imagine. Tech, infrastructure, everything is in bikeRUsh's favor. He's got so many harvesters lined up. May even be worth transferring them over to another refinery just to get them off of the front lines here. And yeah, PoKeMoM did grab this Tib Spike here in the south. It's half health, but he managed to get it. So he's got that little bit of extra income, but that in no means makes up for all of the lost harvesters, all of the lost mining time, and the huge army advantage that bikeRUsh has. He's swinging in. There comes down the secret shrine to try and do I don't know what. It's double barracks production. He's getting a lot of rocket squads, which in a different situation would be great, but there's just no Scorpion tanks. There's nothing to deal with this bike buggy, which like a spear is piercing through the middle of the entire base, running rampant all over PoKeMoM. And he had nothing to do with that. Those bikes and those buggies were going so deep right through the main base, the new main base of PoKeMoM, and he had nothing to stop it. What a fantastic opening from PoKeMoM. What a fantastic turnaround, and just ripping the lead back into his own hands and pulling it away from PoKeMoM. bikeRUshownz showing you how to turn around a bad start and turn it into a fantastic game. But don't try that at home, kids, because you probably can't pull it off. And a great pace setter for the rest of this series. We've got a long series ahead of us with a best of 13, so let's go ahead and jump into game number 2, which takes us to Tournament Rift. We got these Tib Spikes here on this map, 4 of them for these guys to fight over. Now, one thing to note, we got a fast expand, but one thing to note about this series, this is a no map repeats until after Game 7, I believe, because it's like the official ladder maps for Tib Wars, and then after you run through them all once, you can play them again twice. So once we see a map in this series, it will not be replayed until the end of the series, depending on how this goes. On the left side, as the Cyan GDI, this is PoKeMoM. On the right side, as the red nod, this is bikeRUshownz. Up 1-0, and of course we saw the fast expand. Instead, bikeRUsh going triple engineer. Didn't quite queue that guy up. His refinery's on point, though. And PoKeMoM, well, I guess he was expecting the shadow teams, but he was maybe a little bit too slow to respond. Well, actually, they will manage to escape. They lose basically nothing. And as you can see, bikeRUsh going for the secret shrine, going for the shadow team rush, and that is how he is going to be opening this game. He's, of course, had actually gets a third shadow team also out on the field. This is just to help him secure these Tib Spikes down here in the south. He does not want to be losing them. Oh, okay, so this is not a regular, I called it as a fast expand. It is not. This is a forward war factory, and it is being spotted. Oh my gosh, he's going to get the kill of the engineer. Now that reveals the shadow teams, but who cares? You got the kill on the engineer. Oh my gosh, this is like when bikeRUsh goes and uses descents to kill his enemy's blue Tib or whatever. He's going to be able to secure both of these tib spikes in the south. He's going to use his shadow team to be able to do that. If the rifleman hops out to try and kill the engineer will turn around. And actually, no, the rifleman was able to get a spot on the... because of the pit bull, was able to get vision of this shadow team, and actually the engineer grabs the spike anyways. No, he doesn't! He's able to clip through the tib spike and get the kill on the engineer. bikeRUSH loses that, but again, the loss graph is still in the favor of bikeRUSH. He actually got the tib spike capture. He actually got the kill on his opponent's engineer, and he's had those tib spikes for significantly longer than his opponent has, although I guess he just grabbed it back, so he does have that going for him. Oh, and he actually planted the bomb. That's why there was a delay in the capture. He planted the bomb using the Saboteur's special ability to nuke the tib spike and cause PoKeMoM to lose the engineer again when he tried to capture that tib spike. So a nice move there by bikeRUSH. He does lose one tib spike, so that's 2 tib spikes to PoKeMoM and just the 1 for bikeRUSH. Forward War Factory now going to be producing pit bulls. Of course, the stealth detection was nice in dealing with the shadow teams. And now the bikes are going to be hunting harvesters. Over here on the left side of the map, every harvester that goes down is a bigger advantage for bikeRUSH, but if he starts trading out too many bikes, then he'll be in a bad situation. Right now, he's absolutely fine trading out a couple of bikes. Oh, I didn't even realize that harvester survived that initial round of attacks. I thought it was dead sooner than it actually was. So, keeping an eye on things. 3 refineries up and running for bikeRUSH. 4 refineries up and running for PoKeMoM. But bikeRUSH is taking the aggressive expansion. It has been spotted here by PoKeMoM in the middle of the map. PoKeMoM is instead going to be going for the base creep towards that, while his MCV is on the move in the south. This is actually a second MCV heading towards bikeRUSH's natural expansion over here. Could also be stopping by for a refinery on the blue field. bikeRUSH going to be putting constant pressure with these Scorpion tanks, getting up close and personal with the base creep of PoKeMoM. For now, just a couple of pit bulls, predator tanks rather, here to defend, but they get immediately eaten up, and it's going to be double barracks production as the rocket squads come on out to try and mount a defense for PoKeMoM. It doesn't look like it's working very well right now, and the MCV for now is moving on out. It's in the middle of the map, and it's heading further to the east, well, at least potentially. Rifleman squad causing a little bit of a battle marker there, but really it's about these harvester kills over here. 1 more down for bikeRUSH. A second is about to fall, and this is overwhelming Scorpion tank numbers. He can kill this 3rd harvester if he so chooses, and that's all of the harvesters from the main field of PoKeMoM. bikeRUSH, on the other hand, completely harvesting his main field. He's got a safe transition point to a natural expansion. He's going to have 7 or 8 harvesters there, harvesting away at that big middle field pretty much immediately. Half of the field in the south has been already gathered by PoKeMoM, and he's got a contingency plan here, the blue tib in the middle of the map, but Scorpions are now hunting harvesters. They've cleared out the predators. Once again, the overwhelming numbers of bikeRUSH. It looks like we've got missile squads on the defensive route here. They're going to be able to clean up a couple of these Scorpion tanks, and the rest of the Scorpion tanks will be getting pushed away. bikeRUSH has been held off for now. Again, he's got the middle of the map. This is his stronghold. The middle of the map is where the focus is going to be for bikeRUSH. And actually, it's going to be the middle of the map for PoKeMoM as well, as he's got this blue tib here. And he's trying desperately to save this harvester, but he won't be able to. Rallying it around the building, but he will end up losing that harvester. Another shot should finish it off, and it barely does go down right on the edge of the range of those Scorpion tanks. Up north, it's going to be, well, missile squads were here fighting against the Shredder turrets, but it's just going to be Shredder turrets annihilating those missile squads. And now it's Shredder turrets versus harvesters and a watchtower, which, the harvesters in the watchtower may actually be able to win that fight. Harvester for PoKeMoM is going to get back to work harvesting that blue tib. He's been able to make up for some of the economic loss of green with the fact that he's got this second field here and then this blue field over here. So PoKeMoM has been able to gather a decent number of resources, but his army has been sort of, I guess, piecemealed apart. He's lost so many units over the course of this game. Double MCV from bikeRUSH as well, and Tier 3. The good thing to note, he's got double obelisks potentially on the way. And of course, he's going to try and buy time with a couple of Shredder turrets as he drops his first refinery on what would be his natural expansion. He's held off PoKeMoM on the front line. He's claimed a couple more harvester kills as well, which is always nice to see if you're a bikeRUSH fan. And in the south, PoKeMoM is getting pushed back. The Predator tanks don't have the strength, they don't feel at least, to take on this one obelisk. They might be able to take down the one, but a second and a third obelisk would almost certainly be on the way for bikeRUSH. And we may be entering a little bit of a stalemate situation, as I don't know that bikeRUSH will have the forces to push across the map and just kill PoKeMoM outright. But PoKeMoM definitely can't push in and kill bikeRUSH at the current moment. One obelisk gets dropped down. Will get a nice shot off on a veteran Predator tank. Grouping some of these Predators together to make sure that he's got maximum firepower is going to be essential. One APC gets routed the wrong way. It's got an engineer inside of it, while these Predator tanks do get eaten up by these two obelisks in the north. It is amazing how... Oh, no, the engineer goes down as well, so the obelisk manages to catch that APC. The Shredder turret's also there just in case the engineer tried anything funny. But in the middle of the map, starting to make some headway, is PoKeMoM. Well, maybe not so much anymore, as an obelisk goes down right in his face, and he's got almost nothing to back up this attack. Although it does look like power plants may be the target here for PoKeMoM. If he's able to take down 2 or 3 of these upgraded power plants, he may be able to stop the torrent of obelisks. Yes, he sends bikeRUSH into low power mode. He's going to be able to capitalize with a 3rd power plant going down, but 2 more get dropped by bikeRUSH, which means he's too slow. There's too much damage output from bikeRUSH. Pitbull's showing up in bikeRUSH's normal natural expansion, and he is going to be losing 1 harvester. A second may end up going down, but the obelisk is here for the defense, and that's not going to be enough to stop the machine that is bikeRUSH. Avatars are now out on the field, giving bikeRUSH the much-needed powerful mobility to step on forward. Tib Catalyst Missile did nuke one of those refineries, possibly 2 or 3, depending on how closely they were clustered. And all of the attacks from PoKeMoM are washing like waves upon a rock. He is unable to gain any significant ground. He's won a couple of small battles here and there, but he's been unable to totally push bikeRUSH back or defeat any of bikeRUSH's armies wholesale. He's been trading out harvesters, he's been trading out refineries or infrastructure for it. In fact, this stronghold in the south may be his best shot at turning this game around, but it's 3-4 obelisks on the front line, pumping so much damage. He just needs a couple of Shredder turrets to deal with these rocket squads a little bit more quickly. Militant squad pops on out just to get a couple of shots, but the MCV goes down almost immediately. My gosh, that MCV dies so quickly to the power of the obelisk, and it looks like a couple of Pitbulls are going to do some damage to harvesters, but again, is that bit of damage enough? I think the answer is no. And unfortunately for PoKeMoM, he can't even harvest all of this blue Tiberium that's here in the middle of the map. If he had all of that cash liquidated and able to turn into an army, railgun Predator tanks, Juggernauts, Mammoth tanks, something, even Orcas, could help him break the back of bikeRUSH. But for now, bikeRUSH remains basically unaffected. Every attack PoKeMoM has mounted has ultimately failed. He has gained no additional ground. He has only won small victories. And in this war, the small victories are nowhere near enough. bikeRUSH will be able to stabilize down here in the south. There's 2 barracks here potentially to come back online and start producing rocket squads or something, but I don't know that it's going to be enough. He really needs something to disrupt bikeRUSH. And killing power plants would definitely be one way, but I don't know if that in itself would actually be enough. There's so much stuff here from bikeRUSH. Even dropping disruption towers, as we saw one in the south, going to be cloaking these power plants and keeping them from prying eyes. Unfortunately for PoKeMoM, this has not been a one-decision kind of game. It's been 1,000 small decisions that led to this situation where he's got like 10 rocket squads, 4 or 5 Predator tanks against all of this army of bikeRUSH, which this is mostly militant squads, but the 5 or 6 avatars that he's got mixed in here, I guess just 4 avatars, add so much more power. Crane going down in the south, MCV cell maybe in the future. Rocket squads and missile squads, or missile squads and rifleman squads, going to be getting called in as reinforcements. They're immediately overwhelmed. They've got that veteran status, but it's not going to help them stand up to all that firepower. And this is just overwhelming force from bikeRUshownz. PoKeMoM has 1 Predator tank which goes down, and from that point forward, actually no, all of the Predator tanks are here in the south. They're making a run for something past the front line of bikeRUSH. He turns a couple of avatars around to go and stop them while his infantry pushes further forward, dealing with the rocket squads, dealing with the infantry army of PoKeMoM. And bikeRUSH in a little bit of disarray here, trying to deal with these 6 Predator tanks. He's sold off so many of his obelisks, he doesn't have a whole lot on his defensive back end to deal with those Predator tanks. Overwhelming infantry forces, still making a little bit of progress, and they don't even have the support of the armor of bikeRUSH. Barracks still sitting there dormant, unused by bikeRUSH as he pushes forward, and that will be it for that game. I'm going to call that one for bikeRUSH as hit a bit of an advantage there at the end. And my gosh, that unit's graph. Now, keep in mind, most of these are militant squads and rocket squads, but still, what an advantage just in units. And then almost the same number of avatars as there were Predator tanks running around the map. At the end of the day, PoKeMoM stay neck and neck with the income, slightly ahead. It felt like bikeRUSH was actually ahead for part of that, but actually PoKeMoM staying slightly ahead at the end, carving out a bigger difference between the two of them. They had a lot of cash, but it just didn't matter because the efficiency was so much worse for PoKeMoM. And he just lost, as you saw, a lot of those small battles just over time added up. He won a couple of them, but overall, he was unable to dethrone bikeRUSH from a strong position. That'll do it for game number 2. Let's see what happens in game number 3, which takes us to pipeline problems in the north as the pink GDI down 0-2. This is PoKeMoM. And of course, going Crane first. In the south, actually going Barracks first. As the red nod, this is bikeRUshownz. It's another Shadow Team rush coming out from bikeRUSH. And it's a good build. It is a strong build, and it's well-liked for a reason. PoKeMoM also going to be going for the barracks. Of course, it's after the crane, so the refinery is up more quickly. And bikeRUSH is going to use his Shadow Teams to try and make up for the fact that his refinery is a little bit behind that of his opponent. First refinery, not necessarily a big deal, but it can compound over time. 4 Shadow Teams going to be the number. Sometimes players just go for the 2, sometimes they go for 3, and in this case they do have 4 out and running about. Militant squad on the left side for bikeRUSH going to be going for a scout, and of course through the middle of the map is a rifleman squad for PoKeMoM. So goodbye Crane. That is 1 down, and the power plant is going to be the next target. So both of these guys do have their Tib spikes captured, and that's going to be a lovely boost of income over the course of this game. Sometimes when you're moving on to your third field, this sort of natural expansion green, you end up in a situation where it's kind of difficult to harvest, or at least harvest consistently, and you can end up in these situations on pipeline problems where they kind of stall out. Players are having a hard time getting consistent income, and the Tib spike can help deal with that. Nice grab of another power plant by bikeRUshownz, and some of these power plants are in kind of dangerous positions, although that additional watchtower did help significantly. Going to be able to dive on that power plant just as another power plant does drop, but PoKeMoM doesn't want to be spending all of this cash on power plants. He wants to be spending on refineries, harvesters, war factories, getting his additional economy up and running, stabilizing to where he wants to be in the next couple of minutes, instead of fighting for survival of power plants minute by minute. He is maxed out on cash. As you can see, the harvesters having a hard time actually depositing that Tiberium. Barracks does go down, so he doesn't get the sell-off from that. He doesn't get that extra little bit of cash back, which shouldn't make that much of a difference in this game. APCs now starting to come out on the field. Crane is back up and running. I don't think bikeRUSH ever actually went for the crane. No, he's just been living off that single build queue. So a little bit of a difference between these two players. Up center. A little bit of a burp for me, sorry about that. Op center up and running for bikeRUSH, so his tier 2 is now on the field, but his tier 3 is most likely on the way. And if he goes tier 3 before this expansion, that is going to give him a huge advantage just in terms of being able to drop down avatars, obelisks, and anything he likes. Oh my gosh, these Shadow Teams. Oh, that was actually a hallucinated or a holographic shadow team. And he dives on the crane. Once again, he gets it. That's all 3 shadow teams going down. So bikeRUsh really committed to getting that crane. He does manage to get the kill there. Refineries could be sold off. One harvester may want to stick around on that blue field just to harvest it away. And as you can see, PoKeMoM was able to harvest pretty much all of that blue tib before bikeRUsh got like half of his. So PoKeMoM does have more cash in the bank, but bikeRUsh has had the much more stable opening. And this is what I'm talking about. Talking about double MCV. Actually, he's also going stealth tanks, which is really interesting. But double MCV obelisk production is difficult to deal with if you don't have the tools. Those tools being juggernauts primarily, but, you know, railgun predator tanks, railgun mammoth tanks, even orcas. These can all help in the fight against the obelisk. But if you just got regular predator tanks, you're going to have a bad time. It's just not something you can realistically contend with. 1 obelisk, sure. Once you start getting into 2, 3, 4 obelisks with avatar support and a Tib catalyst missile, my gosh, in the middle, and it still grabs both of the refineries. He's going to be able to pick up 2 harvester kills. bikeRUsh absolutely brutal here. Gets a 3rd harvester kill before the stealth tank goes down. Drops himself the Ichor seed, or I guess that's what the Scrin call it. Drops himself a Tiberium seed? Seed Tiberium, whatever it's called. As another obelisk does go down. And it's like, 1 obelisk can be overwhelmed by cheap GDI forces, but you still got to deal with all of this, and that's not the only obelisk in town. 1 more obelisk does go down. Surprising that they're not dropping 2 at a time, that it's just the 1, because again, 1 at a time you can deal with. Yeah, you're going to be losing some forces, especially since now there's Black Hand on the field, but you can deal with the 1. And then in this case, it does survive. He trades out 1 harvester for it. Probably going to be okay, bikeRUsh, considering the sheer number of harvesters of his opponent that he has killed. Ooh, a couple of extra Predator tanks being picked up for free, maybe even 3 Predator tanks for free. PoKeMoM making a bit of a mistake giving away those Predator tanks. A 4th one, potentially poorly rallied. I'm not sure what's going on there, but he does go down. I guess he was going to kill this Tib Spike, and they were just a little bit too slow to escape the non-forces, so all right, we'll have to see. Armory is going down. Composite armor most likely on the way. 4 pit bulls going to be heading kind of towards the left side of the map, going to be potentially going for a bit of harvester harassment. Avatars are here on the front line. They're able to clean up this barracks with the help of the Black Hand Squad. And oh no, this has gone horribly, horribly wrong. Not only are there no harvesters there for the pit bulls to kill, but of course, as you just saw, they get melted by the avatars. They get melted by the obelisks. Where's the army? There's no army for PoKeMoM. There's just literally nothing. He's got 6 pit bulls over here, 5 pit bulls, not even 6. GG gets called. PoKeMoM has been defeated. That last minute there was nothing he could have done. And again, the attacks just didn't work. Now on the resource graph, PoKeMoM ahead in the early game. Of course, Shadow Team Rush is going to give him that advantage, but then bikeRUshownz just clawed it back, and in the end, once again, way more units killed by bikeRUsh. His stuff was staying alive, and, you know, a lot of those units that bikeRUsh killed, Predator tanks, pit bulls, you know, some rifle squads mixed in there, sure, but most of it's Predator tanks and pit bulls, units that you're using to harass and do some damage, but they're not doing the damage that PoKeMoM needed. That'll do it for game number 3. PoKeMoM down 0-3. He really, I mean, it's a best of 13, so it's a long series. He really needs to start putting some wins on the board here. If he loses a 4th game, I mean, that would be GG in a best of 7. But that's got to tilt you, right? If you lose 4 games in a row, that's got to tilt you. And we can see that he can push bikeRUsh to the edge in a lot of these, in some of these smaller ways in these games. Not necessarily over all the games, but all right, let's jump into game number 4, which takes us to Tournament Dust Bowl. Lots of poker. In a Kane's Wrath match, someone was asking about what we meant by no poker on this match, and if you're watching, we're talking about the tib spikes in the middle of the map. In the north, that's the red nod. This is bikeRUshownz. No Shadow Team Rush for him, which this would be a pretty good map to Shadow Team Rush, considering the poker spikes. Anyways, in the south, as the purple GDI, this is PoKeMoM. And I mostly call him Pokemon, even though technically his name is spelled PoKeMoM. But, yeah. War Factory should be coming up in just a moment, and then the APCs will escort these engineers to the tib spikes, but the initial cashback, the initial capture, will go to bikeRUSH. He produced the additional couple of militant squads so that he'd be able to see. Ooh, and that rifleman squad is going to dive. They're not going to quite get that engineer. But, and actually he drops the briefcase. So if you see this little kind of stealthed briefcase there, bikeRUSH has guaranteed that not only does he get the $750 cash back for capturing the tib spike plus the 25 credits a second, he's got that briefcase there so that when this APC drops off this engineer, the tib spike will explode. And I'm sure most of you already know that because you have done this a time or two, but for those of you who are wondering why tib spikes sometimes explode, but not always, it's a ability of the nod engineer. And Pokemon has to know, right? I mean, he has to know. He's essentially spending 500 credits to stop bikeRUSH from getting more credits, but the fact is that's 1,000 credits down the drain, and bikeRUSH made, I don't know, 1,000 credits or something, because he gets, between the two spikes, he gets $500 of cash back, and then on top of the cost of the engineer, rather. But things are looking good for bikeRUSH. Great opening for bikeRUSH. He's slowly been crawling his way over to his natural expansion. The same thing we're seeing from Pokemon. Standard on Tournament Dust Bowl. This is a small walk to your natural expansion. And this is Tib Wars, so creeping with refineries makes sense. Pokemon did his best in Game 1 when it was Nod v Nod, and he's been playing GDI since. And Game 2 on Rift was closer than Game 3, but I'm somewhat worried about Pokemon with being down 3 games and with continuing to play GDI. He may want to, switch it up, go back to Nod, which I love that GDI sets up their base right next to this billboard with a Nod logo spray painted on top of it. Natural expansions are humming. Crane coming up for PoKeMoM. Bikes running around the map, looking for an opening, looking for an opportunity, but not necessarily going to be committing to anything. As you can see, bikeRUSH is starting to marshal forces, sending them to the bottom right-hand corner of the map. Small line of rocket squads being sent through the middle of the map. He does spot a rifleman squad over here, and an APC that's just with a rifleman squad inside of it. So nothing too much to worry about. Armory once again going down. PoKeMoM, we've seen him do this a couple of times in the past. Probably getting that compo armor up and running. I guess he could be going for scanner packs or something, but he's going for the composite armor, so. Once again, trying to utilize those rocket squads, utilize those riflemen. I like this. Pit bulls on the left side of the map, 6 of them calling in reinforcements as well. Could be the Bloodhounds being called in. Oh no, he doesn't have the airfield, so I guess it's just going to be riflemen and rocket squads. Ooh, they're taking a lot of damage. Now, the transports can take quite a bit of damage before going down, and in this case, they do manage to survive. Avatar's already out on the field. This is probably, yep, it's a second MCV from bikeRUSH, and he just nuked a couple of refineries down here in the south. Of course, there are 2 refineries that were somehow out of the blast radius of the Tib Catalyst missile. And that will give a bit of an economic advantage to bikeRUSH. Drops the air tower as well. Oh boy, these pit bulls have not been able to get anything done. PoKeMoM was hoping these pit bulls on the left side could have been the tip of the spear, going in for some kind of attack. securing some Harvester kills against bikeRUSH, but it's just not happening. Once again, being behind on tech, it seems like PoKeMoM still no Tier 2, at least not that I can see. And of course, that means his Tier 3 is way, way behind that of bikeRUSH. I would love to see Tier 2, then into Railguns, maybe Juggernauts, and almost anything. I think this is a third MCV from bikeRUSH. I don't think he's going to get overwhelmed over here. I think he will be able to save that MCV. It looks like he did move his MCV from the main base. So it's just 2 MCVs, and 1 obelisk does go down. He also mine drops on top of these tanks, so they can't really escape very easily. And he may actually lose this MCV. I may have been wrong, but this Avatar could step down here, and it's possible bikeRUSH will just barely hold on to it. Meanwhile, on the left side of the map, Venoms are facing off against buildings, and this is so much gun damage coming out of both sides. Militant squads against watchtowers, a couple of rocket squads mixed in for each side as well. But I don't even know what's going on with this attack. There's very little anti-air from PoKeMoM. So I guess bikeRUSH will end up overwhelming because his Venoms are just putting so much damage out onto these missile squads. He's having such an easy time clearing out most of the missile squads until just now when they finally do manage to overwhelm the Venoms. Harvesters coming through to deposit teeny tiny bits of Tiberium. And these Avatars are, I guess, I'm going to have to move away from the front line. The MCV did manage to survive. It looks like he sent an engineer inside of there to heal it up. Harvesters on the front line getting taken out. Avatars focusing on them and able to eliminate them one after the other. bikeRUSH parking his Harvesters near the barracks. I assumed it would be for crushes, and it does look like he's going for a couple of crushes, but he's also just kind of hanging out here and harvesting some Tiberium, which is pretty funny. Shredder turrets shredding these missile squads, and the Avatars will be able to deal with the watchtowers. Yeah, the tip silos are a nice touch from PoKeMoM, but the Avatars are just going to burn through them so quickly. 4 Avatars on the front line. An additional War Factory going to be coming down from bikeRUSH. Another Harvester of PoKeMoM's goes down. bikeRUSH loses a Harvester as well, but not the same numbers and not the same importance. PoKeMoM on the right side of the map is leeching towards this field completely uncontested. bikeRUSH has pretty much let this go on the right side of the map, so actually PoKeMoM, if he's able to pull out of this left side of the map without too many losses, he may need to cut and run, get his MCV out of there before these forces get too much closer. This is so many Harvesters going for the crush, a ridiculous number of Harvesters going for the crush of these infantry. So much so that this MCV had probably time to escape. I don't know that it has time to escape now. Keep in mind the crane is down here in the kind of south part of the map. And this base on the left side is forfeit. bikeRUSH had to spend a lot of cash to secure it, but at the end of the day, he's still got 6 Avatars here stomping around the battlefield, maybe even a 7th. Yeah, he just recovered a husk. So he's got 7 Avatars stomping around the battlefield. War Factory goes down. Obelisk on the right side of the map. So this has been spotted. Engineer is going to pop on out. He's going to hop into the ABC, but the ABCs get sniped, and the Shredder turrets deal with the Engineer. What could have been a brilliant moment of turnaround for PoKeMoM has been thwarted once again. Sells off both of the barracks on the left side of the map. And it looks like the Avatars have been pulled back somewhere. They're just hanging out here next to the War Factory. They're not over here on the right side of the map. It's just Obelisk, Shredder turrets, and militant squads dealing with the rockets of his opponent. 3 rockets at a time with so many barracks have been produced by PoKeMoM over the course of this game, over the course of this series. Probably more barracks than we've seen from just about anyone else in a series like this, in a long format series. Well, more power plants, you know what that means. More obelisks. While on the left side of the map, it's militant squads and Avatars, which are sort of like mobile obelisks and Shredder turrets. He's doing things the old-fashioned way instead of with base defenses. PoKeMoM is cleared up on the left side of the map. The MCV can't escape. His only hope is this right side of the map, which is now being sieged by bikeRUSH. Goodbye, MCV. Goodbye, Rifleman Squad. Goodbye, Engineer. And he hasn't been able to build an army. He got very close with the War Factory here and the barracks. But once again, your I don't know, 10 minutes into this game or whatever, and bikeRUSH has an army and PoKeMoM doesn't. At the end of the day, that's been the story of this series. When things get going, sort of when the dust is starting to settle, you realize bikeRUSH has an army and PoKeMoM doesn't. A lot of the other things in the game may be equal, but the army advantage in this series, every game, has gone to bikeRUSH. Obelisks continue to slice and dice their way through GDI forces. Avatars and militant squads on the left side will move out. PoKeMoM has been defeated. He calls the GG, and he will be dropping game number 4. I talked about tilt. I gotta imagine this has got to affect the way he's thinking. Man, look at that. As the third field started drawing up for bikeRUSH, PoKeMoM started to pull ahead, but he just couldn't spend the money or something. I don't know, he had like no production. He was technically ahead on the cash, but I think he was unable to successfully convert that cash into anything useful. And unfortunately, PoKeMoM will drop game number 4. We are going to jump into game number 5, which takes us to Small Town, USA. In the top right-hand corner as the red nod, this is bikeRUshownz. Up 4-0. In the bottom left-hand corner as the cyan Scrin, this is PoKeMoM. The first time we're seeing Scrin in this series. bikeRUSH, on the other hand, rockin' red, rockin' nod the whole way through. Once again, this is a map with 2 Tib spikes for your capture. And that's going to be a nice little boost to both of these guys. Sometimes we see them stick around for pretty much the entirety of the game. And I don't know if PoKeMoM was playing random when he jumped into this game, so it's possible that bikeRUSH, until just recently, didn't actually realize what faction he was playing up against. In this case, bikeRUSH loses his scout in that building. May lose this additional militant squad as well. And the second militant squad would be able to clean up the buzzer, but for now, the buzzer is going to run away. Standard openings for both of these players. No shadow team rushes, nothing too weird. And we'll have to see how Small Town USA cuts up. If PoKeMoM can turn this series around. Descents are a good way to do that. Definitely a good start, and if your opponent doesn't handle them well, goes for the stasis chamber as well. So we'll have to see what exactly his plan is for that. Ops Center is here for bikeRUSH. So Tier 2 for bikeRUSH, Tier 2 Infantry, I guess you could call it, for PoKeMoM. But no Nerve Center. So once again, we've got bikeRUSH rushing towards Tier 3, Obelisks, Avatars, Tib Catalyst Missile, or I guess the Tib Chemical Plant, and then Tib Catalyst Missile. He's rushing towards all of this late-game stuff that we've seen him win with game after game after game in this series, but also in his time playing in Tib Wars as a whole. He's doing basically the same thing almost every game. He's mixing it up a little bit. Sometimes it's a Shadow Team rush. Sometimes he's going early aggression with infantry. Sometimes he's going for flame tanks. But at the end of the day, he's doing the same sort of thing. Stasis Chamber. Ooh, he stasises the Operations Center. He was trying to deny the Tier 3. He was trying to cancel it and reset it, but it was already down. Harvesters will be hunted. One of them goes down very nicely. And power plant also going down is a bit of a problem for bikeRUSH, but more power plants are now online, and the avatars are also here, and these avatars will just burn through Seeker tanks so quickly. Flame tank gets pulled back. It's great to have 2 war factories on the front line, and PoKeMoM killed 1 harvester, but I don't know that that was enough. His expansion is up faster. He's got the crane or the foundry now out on the line. I would love to see a nerve center coming out from him. Well, there we go. I got my wish. He's got the nerve center. I'd love to see Tier 3 and, see some avatars Flame Tank even getting in on the action. Black Hand Squad going to be flaming down these Seeker tanks as they drive backwards away. bikeRUSH doesn't have an economic advantage, but he does still have cash on his main field, so he's still got regular income. He's still got lots of production going on, and it looks like he's got an army which is going to be able to push PoKeMoM back out of this natural expansion. And PoKeMoM is actually expanding north with 3 gravity stabilizers, so he's dropping a ton of cash in the north. He's not going to use it to secure this base in the south, which means he loses the refinery, he loses the crane, and the power plant will go down as well. The MCV has already evac'd, drone ship flying backwards, and it's going to be Storm Riders all the way. Now, in the past, we've seen Storm Riders do some good damage, catch players off guard, get some nice kills, whether it's harvesters or weakening Scorpion tanks or even taking down avatars. We've seen them do some damage in the past, but this is a lot of bike buggy waiting here for bikeRUSH. We're waiting here under the command of bikeRUSH. 1 Storm Rider goes down, so already losing out in this game of attrition, in this war that these guys fight. 1 Storm Rider down, but no real losses for bikeRUSH. And he was able to crawl his way to a natural expansion, but now his natural expansion timing is basically behind that of bikeRUSH. So any advantage in income, I don't think he has anymore. Wow, even laser capacitors being purchased by bikeRUSH. That is how flush with cash he is. I mean, a lot of times in Tib Wars, you don't even see laser capacitors get purchased. You forget that it affects the buggies as well. bikeRUSH pulling his entire army pretty much over to that left side of the map. Going to be hunting a couple of extra harvesters, and by hunting, I mean waiting for them to walk into his laser beams. As his bike and buggy is pushing in on the left side of the map, he's going to potentially get a harvester. No, he barely doesn't manage to get it. But it looks like the Storm Riders are going to try and kill this Flame Tank. They do get the Flame Tank. No, they don't. They stop attacking it at the last second. He gets the kill on 1 gravity stabilizer, and it does damage to a 2nd gravity stabilizer. Somehow the Storm Riders were more focused on those, on the buggies, on the Raider buggies that were trying to go for that harvester, which they did get, by the way, but instead, the Flame Tank got the kill on 1 gravity stabilizer, killed half of another one. It looks like 1 harvester for bikeRUSH did end up going down, and it finally seems like these Storm Riders are paying off. The attack has been thwarted, bikeRUSH has been pushed back, and of course, bikeRUSH should be dropping some, he just nuked all of the refineries of his opponent. It looks like 2 or 3, 2 guaranteed, 3 even, or I guess maybe not that one there, I don't know. But it looks like there are 3 buzzer squads there, so 3 somethings probably died. Operations Center is being targeted, but it doesn't actually go down, which means the SAM's turrets aren't actually being stopped. PoKeMoM, without key victories, again, small victories, small wins, stopping attacks and killing sections of the army, but the Operations Center surviving, which means the SAM turrets survive, which means the anti-air is stronger. It just doesn't feel good for PoKeMoM. Another SAM site goes down. bikeRUSH, of course, could have rebuilt the Operations Center, but he would be slightly behind in terms of the placement of the SAM sites. What is PoKeMoM going to do? He's got decent income now. Not great, but not terrible. I don't think he ever bothered getting tier 3, so he's got no tripods, no force fields. This is the 2nd MCV of bikeRUSH. His first one's down here in the south. Engineer, great move from PoKeMoM, trying to sneak engineers in. If you could sneak an engineer into, say, an MCV, maybe sell it off or use it to drop a barracks and get some more engineers, take down some of the infrastructure of bikeRUSH, something like that. That would be great. Be a little cash boost, be a little bit of a thorn in the side of bikeRUSH, but SAM sites going down directly onto the front line to combat these Storm Riders, which are getting woefully low in health. 4, 5, 6 of them with red health. They're going to start dropping like flies. One of them does go down. A couple more do manage to escape, albeit barely. Extractors being eliminated, stealth being provided by a disruption tower, and again, we enter the stage where the army almost doesn't exist. Yes, I love Devastator warships here to hold the line, and they can help PoKeMoM win a long, drawn-out fight. I don't know if he has the forces to make this a long, drawn-out fight. Another Storm Rider and 2 Storm Riders do go down. The Storm Column adding a bunch of DPS into this army, and he may barely be able to push this back, but again, it's going to take time. He can't do it right now. He's got to stop these avatars from stomping forward. He's got to stop them from killing more harvesters and refineries. I mean, doing what he can, but there's just so much more firepower for bikeRUSH. More and more SAM turrets going down. bikeRUSH's MCV encroaching on the space of PoKeMoM. Into low power mode goes PoKeMoM. And this would actually be a great opportunity for bikeRUSH to build 2 or 3 stealth tanks and sneak them into the back door of PoKeMoM. Shock Troopers are a nice tool. They've even got plasma disc launchers and blink packs, so they're fully upgraded. They're good to go. But bikeRUSH has bought himself even more time. Now he's got so many Raider buggies out on the front line. He's got 5 avatars with a War Factory to heal them up. bikeRUSH pushes forward. He's going for the kill of another refinery. And once again, PoKeMoM has been defeated, not even being able to put up a kind of a last stand there. He taps out of game number 5. He's getting to the point where he would need to win every single game without dropping a single one. It's best of 13. So, you know, winning all of the games in a row is difficult, but it's not impossible. And in this case, bikeRUshownz is doing a pretty good job so far. PoKeMoM coming very close, but never able to get it. That will do it for this game. Let's jump into game number 6, which takes us on to Tournament Coastline. As the red nod on the left side, this is bikeRUshownz. Up 5-0. On the right side, as the purple nod, this is PoKeMoM. Alright, it's not a Shadow Team rush from bikeRUSH. I was almost expecting that. Always glad to see Tournament Coastline. Barracks after Refinery for PoKeMoM, and I am glad to see PoKeMoM once again playing Nod. I would like to see bikeRUSH play some stuff other than Nod, but whatever. They're going to pass through this terribly, terribly destroyed building with many air conditioning units on the roof, which, how did that air conditioning unit survive? I'm not sure that little bit of roof could support a big old HVAC system, but yeah. Oh, those militant squads from PoKeMoM barely not making it into that building. bikeRUSH with the early game advantage in terms of scouting. Carryall with an engineer, we can always assume. And I think it was spotted by bikeRUSH. Also, it looks like a Tier 2 sell-off. Uh-oh. That sucks. Wow, that sucks. For PoKeMoM. Another Carryall. Huh. So another Carryall going to be sneaking an engineer into the corner of the map of Venom, hunting potentially the engineers of bikeRUSH. And as you saw, that Black Hand Squad running around the map, and that means the Operations Center was sold off as well. Rocket Squad's a little bit late to the party. bikeRUSH may have some sneaky things planned for him in the future by PoKeMoM, but at the current moment, he has got some harvester killing things planned for PoKeMoM, and that is the more immediate threat, and also the more real threat. Venom's going down. One of them gets eliminated, and this buggy will get eliminated as well. War Factory now going down for PoKeMoM. bikeRUSH hanging out in his base. Oh, this is so sad. Well, actually, forced the sell-off of that War Factory, which isn't the biggest of deal. bikeRUSH is just going to rebuild that in the middle of the map, but It is kind of annoying. It kind of slows down bikeRUsh a little bit. Again, I think bikeRUsh is fine with that. He already had one queued and pretty much ready to go. And it would have been nice to have 2 war factories at this point, and PoKeMoM has kind of evened things up in that way. Put them both back on 1 war factory. But I was going to say PoKeMoM has only 2 harvesters, or he lost 2 harvesters, rather. But he has been defeated. So, yeah, I mean, it wasn't a great game for PoKeMoM. Just in terms of engineers, he lost 1,000 credits of engineers and got essentially nothing for them. So, yeah. That will do it for game number 6. Nod was not the answer, at least not that way. Always sad to see such a quick game on Tournament Coastline. It can provide such awesome and epic matches, but we are going to jump now into game number 7. Will the dominance continue, or will PoKeMoM begin the reverse all kill? We'll find out right after this, which takes us to Tournament Tower. In the top left-hand corner as the red nod, this is bikeRUshownz. In the bottom right-hand corner as the blue scrin, this is PoKeMoM. Double barracks opening. Is he just going like engineer and then some extra? No, he's going to sense. Okay. All right, buddy. We shall see. PoKeMoM, this begins the reverse all kill. He literally has to get 7 games in a row. No drops, no loss to rushes, nothing to win this tournament series. I believe it is winner take all. So it's $100 to one of these guys. And right now, bikeRUsh is in a pretty commanding position. 6 games up in a best of 13. Looking to go 7 games and finish out this series, but PoKeMoM is not going to let him do that. Not if he can help it. Couple of buzzer squads mixed in here, but the descents are going to be taking a lot of damage from these militant squads. That's a descent or 2 going down before they ever close the distance to do some actual damage to bikeRUsh. Another descent squad there on the low ground getting eliminated by bikeRUsh's Raider Buggy. And on the high ground, they have stopped anything from going up to the high ground, but they won't necessarily be able to do too much more than that. 1 descent squad does still remain, but a militant squad and a buggy will be able to overwhelm them, so no problems there. In the north, Buzzer has grabbed that building. The descents haven't killed the Tib Spike. They haven't killed the Raider Buggies. They haven't done much of anything. They did cost money, so that is one thing that they did. This is not looking good for PoKeMoM. He's got 3 refineries. He's got 3 harvesters. bikeRUshownz, 2 refineries, 5 harvesters, 6 harvesters actually, and 7 harvesters and a 3rd refinery on the hill. Refinery number 4 goes down for PoKeMoM, sells off one of his refineries back home, and it's going to be a war factory, tense-up play in the middle of the map. Now, of course, this GDI Logistics Center, which in other matchups, GDI versus GDI, GDI versus Nod, whatever, it can be a little more contentious, but when you're up against someone who can literally clear it with base defenses, usually the GDI Logistics Center is not such a focal point in this match. Dev tanks now here. They are fully charged and able to output some serious damage, but this is 3 Scorpion tanks and 2 Raider Buggies here. A Corruptor is healing up these Dev tanks, which is going to give them a ton of just staying power, but a ton of fight. And he may be able to push back this little Scorpion tank army with the extra Dev tanks, with the extra Corruptors that are popping on out. First Dev tank is about to go down. It doesn't quite get overwhelmed with the double Corruptors, healing it with the double War Factories. Nice charge up from PoKeMoM, and he actually is going to be able to hold off bikeRUsh here. He's going to get a couple of free kills or close to free kills as the Scorpion tanks try to escape. Gets another Scorpion tank, but bikeRUsh is powered up. He is ready to rumble, and he is going to be difficult to dislodge from his power position. Now looking to snowball off of the momentum that he just had is PoKeMoM. He's pushing forward with the dev tanks. He's starting to take down one shredder turret, but that is not what he needs to be worried about. He needs to start putting pressure on these war factories. He needs to cut off the production of bikeRUSH. He needs to get the kill on harvesters. Was it an MCV cell? It looks like it was an MCV cell from bikeRUSH. So what you see is what you get. He can rebuild, of course, but he's got that cash influx. He's going in for the kill. He's overwhelming the dev tanks, and that is his only goal here. He wants to kill the dev tanks and push forward to kick PoKeMoM out of this game. PoKeMoM just needs to hold this attack, and he will be in an all-right position. One more dev tank does go down. 3 remain. Corruptor's getting into a weird position. Where are they going? They're off of the front line. They're not healing anything, and that is it. GG gets called. bikeRUSH 7-0s PoKeMoM in this series. $100 going to him, and PoKeMoM is out. A valiant attempt at the last minute there to rally the troops, to pull it back, and to start the reverse all-kill, but it was not in the stars. bikeRUshownz with a dominant performance over PoKeMoM, considered to be a serious contender for him, and as it turns out, crushing all takers in this case. A great series between these two guys. Some fantastic moments of Tib Wars action throughout. But at the end of the day, it was bikeRUSH's series. A lot of the games swung pretty heavily into his favor, and a couple of the games, PoKeMoM did put up a good fight, but overall, bikeRUSH was simply dominant. That is how this match worked out. That is how this series worked out. Thank you all very much for watching. A kind of quick best of 13 at the end there. A couple of like 7 or 8 minute matches, but then these last two, 7 or 8 minutes between the two of them. That will do it for this series. Congratulations to bikeRUSH and a good showing from PoKeMoM. Thank you all very much for watching, and this is Sybert signing out.